Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas and this is Wonder of Existence, channel called Wonder of Existence. As always, I've got Geert and Mike on my left and right hand side. And today we blessed each other to reveal one of the big topic, which is the matter of emotions. So what are the emotions? What's the happiness? What's the sadness? What comes to your head if you think about emotions, and how do you see emotions in terms of where it comes from? Basically, is this something physical? Is this your body feeling like happy when it feels good? Is this your brain like part of your still physical body, or is this your conscious or your spiritual part, which is enjoying and spreading some sadness or happiness around? And on top of that, would be good if you could discuss what's good and bad, and how to define that something's good, something's bad. Because we always start with Geert. Perhaps today we can start with Mike.
I'm still working it out. Okay, the first thing that comes to my mind, which I just made a couple of notes of now, about emotions. Not talking about anything chemical that's what's creating them in your head. I don't want to go there just yet. Maybe we need to go there later. But when I'm thinking about emotions, I think about that a lot in terms of communication. Because I have a belief in a sort of higher consciousness, of a higher level of myself, or my consciousness, that I'm sort of in contact with, or that is guiding me or steering me through this life for its own experience, then I realise that you can't really communicate in words with that essence of yourself, the higher essence of yourself. And the way that communicates with you is through emotions, because emotions direct your decision making most of the time. Life is like a jungle or a forest, and you've got to find your path through it. Even if you don't know what that path is or where the goal is, you're still, most of us are trying to find our way through life. And we're presented with all sorts of different directions, different paths, and we make choices about which one we want to go on, even though we don't know where it's leading, because we can't know the future. We have an idea, we make a story about, a daydream about where it's going to take us, but we always make that decision that we think it's going to be the best one for us.
Yeah.
So it's a choice, okay? You don't go down this path, you go down that path. But what's actually directing us? Why would we choose one direction instead of another? Because you get an impulse, an emotional impulse to say, yeah, well, if I follow that one, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. It scares me.
What's that impulse then?
Well, yeah, that's communication. That's wordless communication.
From your higher self.
From your higher self, I think. It makes you feel uncomfortable if you go down the wrong path. So it's always trying to steer you on the path that you're meant to go, because you have a foreplanned goal in this life. A theme, you could say, but also a goal to reach, a lesson to learn, whatever it could be. And your higher self, it's directing you to do that. And of course, you've got free will as well. You can choose not to follow your emotions and do something else. But that's what's happening in your contact with your higher self. It's steering you through your life towards the goal or purpose you came here to experience. And the way it does that is through your emotions, because emotions drive your choices. So, okay, if you feel good about something, you're going to make a decision for it. You're going to choose for it rather than choose for something that definitely feels bad for yourself.
But do you mean that the impulse which comes to your head is...
Well, it doesn't come to your head, actually. It comes to your heart, and then your head analyses it and thinks, yeah, I've got to listen to this.
Okay, so you mean that this impulse, this information is not positive or negative. It's about your brain to analyze it and treat it in particular way. So if you believe that something tells you to go left, then you say like, oh yeah, I want to follow this, which means it's positive. That's what you mean?
Well, if you feel like going, then it's positive.
So you analyze it, and only
you can't stop. You can't not analyze it. You feel it. I mean, some people do not think about it. They work on impulse, just on emotional impulse, and they lash out, or they make rash decisions, and or they follow the instructions of other people without having to think about it, regardless of what they think about it themselves. There's lots of different ways of being steered through this life. But if you go into yourself and you start listening to your emotions, it's like you understand your gut instinct then. We have this instinct. What is instinct? Maybe that's a direction by a higher consciousness that is steering you. Maybe that's what we were talking about with animals. They have an instinct. What is that instinct? It's an instruction. We say it's a program, but it could be an instruction that they have to do this sort of thing. And we have that as well. We have instincts. And most of us don't listen to those instincts, or we don't value them as much as we should. But yeah, I mean, that's what I think about that emotions. Our emotions that are there to as instructions to guide us towards what we should be doing and where we should be going.
But I'm just thinking about this impulse. You said like you've got an impulse and you do something. Let's imagine a situation like people sometimes react according to the impulse. So let's say something happens, something frightens you. You turn around and you immediately start running away, for example. Or other like opposite. Something scares you and you start attacking. Some people say, oh, it is just a nature. It's all those basic programs built in our body as part of the animals world. And then that makes sense, obviously. But I'm just thinking about some people, let's say someone attacks you. But, you're just walking on the street, down the street, and someone attacks you. Then you defend yourself immediately, just like an impulse. You just start punching this person. And by coincidence, you just hit him the way that he hit the curve, and he broke his scalp, and he's dead. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the court, for example, and in the court you say, "Oh, I'm very sorry, but it was just an impulse. I was just defending myself." And people start in such a situation. They start sort of going back in time, analyzing this, and thinking like, "No, it wasn't me. I normally I don't do that. I don't punch anyone. I don't know who was that. What was that? I got this immediate impulse. I had to do it." And that's it. And I did it. I'm very sorry, but I didn't want to kill him. What do you think then? What do you think then? What this impulse is? Is this something that this higher self is there and sending those information to you? But maybe it's not that who's sending this impulse. Maybe this is animal's word reaction, like automatic reaction that you have to defend yourself or run away because that's what they say that you have to do.
I don't think any higher consciousness is saying hit the bastard. I don't think that, I don't like him, but hit him, Oh, you shouldn't have hit him that hard, No, I don't think that. It's there is a general instruction as well, obviously, for your own protection. You've got that automatic.
So the defense system.
A defense system. That's wired into.
Another program.
That's so taken for granted. Of course, we have to survive. We have to protect ourselves, and you can't be responsible for the in such a moment. You can't be responsible for the consequences because you can't see the consequences until afterwards. But that's just the defense mechanism, doesn't it? That doesn't. You go into the classroom for the first as a child, and you get read the rules, the main rules, right at the beginning. So you know not to run in the corridor. You know not to do this, not to do that, not to do that. Okay, they're the basic ones. You don't have to be told every single day not to do that. You know, but other things, the more personal emotions that people feel, how do you deal with something? Because I mean, you can have a situation that some people will feel fearful of that, and some people will feel, excited about it. So they'll make different decisions based on it. But they've got different paths to follow. And maybe that's the communication from their higher selves to actually steer them in a completely different direction. If we all reacted exactly the same to the same, we'd all end up at the same place. We're not supposed to end up at the same place. You know, you've got to think about it yourself. I mean, I think about it for myself, and I realise that is what my emotions are telling me. So that is the conclusion I come to. I mean, I can't say that's what it is, because I don't know the truth, but that's how I deal with emotions. If I feel an emotion and I'm comfortable with it, I also think, what's this telling me? You know, and if it's just an emotion and I can't answer that, then I'm not getting any further. But every emotion has something to tell you, and that alone makes me think that, well, if that emotion has something to tell me, is there somebody telling me that through the emotion?
Well, I think we have to go back to the beginning or before the beginning, because it's a completely new topic in humanity the last 100 years to talk to look at your own emotions and talk about it. So this topic is a real exercise topic, because people are not really, well, it's complex to talk about it, your emotions. So first you have to look for why are we gifted with them, and I think everybody has to exercise this. So these sort of talkings, everybody has to do it on birthday parties, or if someone is going to marry, and not the rest of the nonsense, but just. And for women, it's more easy to talk about emotions sometimes, but they are enjoying it too much. So you have to be critical about, if you enjoy something too much, then you have to be critical. But if you are reacting at one point defensive, then you have to look back at it and analyze it. Well, what was the reason that I did it? Because I'm in my work, I just exercised for 46 years. I exercised entering a group who are like hyenas if you don't react in the right way. So children, you will be thrown out of the classroom if you don't react in the right way. So I exercised it, and the reaction you described in the beginning as fight or flight, I really don't know.
You don't know what?
I don't know the reaction flight or fight.
You mean yourself?
No.
You don't have this reaction, you mean?
No. Now I never knew it. I experienced this.
You've not experienced
no.
that.
So there was one, well, maybe two situations I can describe. There was on the soccer field, I think 25 years ago, was someone, I made a sliding on completely correct, and he was so angry on me. Mm-hmm. I didn't really, but he was really, he didn't experience much slidings, I think. So he was really angry, and he gave me a real, I was on the ground, and on my right leg he really punched me. As if I did attack him. So I got up right, and everybody thought I would punch him.
Back. But you did.
As normally soccer players do. And I stood and I said, I want here on the left, my left leg, I want some too. So
you're like a Jesus Christ, like
no. It was just
turn the other leg.
I showed him the leg. Well, here I want some too.
Okay.
And then he
was confused.
He was really.
Confused.
He was a big guy. So he was like this, and he walked away, and he went away, and came for, I think, 2 months. He didn't come. We didn't talk about it afterwards, but it was really effective. And there was a really criminal guy who was coming. No, this is the other example. There was a really criminal guy who came to live on the floor with us, but there was the woman who lived there before. She had a heater, a gas heater for me. So he came in and I said, the gas heater is still mine. Well, I did it 3 times, and the 3rd time he came. He was a real small man, but all sorts of
full of muscles,
normal criminal design on his arms and real like that. So now it's finished, and he and I was on the wall, and I thought, now it's the first time I will be hit in my life. And I just did this, and I looked at him. And he didn't know what to do. He just stopped. And after 5 minutes, I was up, and I heard a real big sound, and the heater was there.
But you know what? Your reaction is also reaction.
Yes, reaction.
It's not a reaction.
Not a flight or fight.
Yeah, you don't attack, you don't defend yourself, you just stand still, sort of.
Yeah.
Like
and
okay, I'm
look
yours.
What happens, and now, no, not this, but just only and have a look. What do you do with someone who is really like this? I was only interested in what, and I think, well, maybe I'm in the hospital or something like that. So I'm not afraid for being punched or something like that, because I didn't experience that. So maybe I have to go to the hospital, maybe it's the end of my life, it's possible, but I want to know what happens here really. And so those emotions, I can, well, these are for me abstractions. And most teachers who come in classrooms who are thrown out by the children, they think in these terms of emotions. So you come in and there is a real sound and all sort of things, and you have to make some sort of as if it's a theater piece. You come in, you look around, come into all the space, a little smile, and then you hope that the right remark comes into you. But you have to exercise. It's not a thing you have as a child. You have not that quality to be able to have the right remark on the right moment. Well, that's what you have to exercise. I accepted that exercise. I'm not able, I was not, when I was 20 years old, I started with it, but I didn't really, was good in it. But I think now, if I enter a classroom, and the children tell each other how it is, well, there was one child who said, well, you can say everything to Geert, but he tells you everything, but he gives a comment without any, you have this, it's really a risk if you, and you can't make him angry. So that's I think it's an exercise, that the whole emotion thing, we have to exercise it. And well, you have to make a difference between, you have 2 sorts of emotions. You have the thing that's combined with our being in the flesh, as they call it in old religions. Well, that's a difficult thing, but you must not think that you have to be perfect in the beginning. You just have a look at it. And that was what was, I think, my start with that sort of, if you're in 14, 15 years old, you start really entering the flesh. And then I was, well, who's most powerful? I or my emotional thing about girls or women or something. Well, who's the one who's strong? Well, that most people are entering the emotion and say this is normal, natural. Well, for me, I don't know where we came from, but it was not natural. Nothing was natural. And if you say something is natural, I don't trust those people. Because you have to investigate everything. And that's the point. Freud started with it in a very simplistic way to start the whole area of the whole realm of emotions, and then afterwards came a lot of specialists. But now it's the time to investigate. Everybody has to investigate his emotional life and can come maybe to a conclusion like you mentioned. That's I think it's an exercise area. It's not an area of specialists. Those people they only are looking from a distance. They don't investigate by being emotional. No, they just have Freud, he said, just lay down and talk. And he was in the back and he tried to be like the physicist to look at an experiment. But it's not an experiment, it's just something between people, and I think that it's a very important area to investigate. And I'm very thankful to be able to have been able to exercise this for 50 years in my working life with children and adults. Because adults, if a parent is not content with the results of school life, yeah, you can meet a lot of emotion. And then the first thing I did meet lots of parents, and the last 15 years I could say, well, the parent was angry and said to the child, well, explain this to me and to your mother. It's so effectful to just not reacting on the parent, but just to turn to the child, and they're 14, 15-year-olds. So explain this to how is this possible? You're the specialist. I don't know why you didn't work for school that time. So explain it to your parents. Oh, it's really. Some parents didn't want to come again. So it was so effective to do that. But most of the times, it was really opening the relation between the three.
Yeah.
Because I was not in the fight or flight. With a fight or flight reaction, it would be.
But this is exactly this difference between us as human beings and the animals. Animals, in most of the cases, react instinctively, which means that they either attack or they run away, or sometimes they got stunned completely. They just stand still and thinking, okay, if I'm not moving, nobody will see me here. I'm here. But these are the three ways of reactions, and we are sort of like on a higher level, and apart from that we can react on a way different ways, right? And also we can analyze what we need to do in particular situations. So we not only emotions are involved in our actions, but also we analyze situation. Hold on, the elephant is approaching me. I shouldn't be running away, because if I start running, he will just run after me and he will, pinch me to the ground. So it's better if I just stand still. But we sort of, maybe we're not walking away from the topic of emotions, because all what we're discussing is all about part of the emotions. But as Mike said at the beginning, we can go back to the physical part of these emotions. We started to talk about physical part of emotions as well. I'm still curious where this impulse, this information comes from. That you or me or you are happy or you're unhappy, or there's something in between. You excited or not excited, or you're very.
Can you experience life without emotion?
I think I know where you're going. I think that you want to say that. I think that you want to say basically that.
Aren't you
without
one and all
emotions.
emotion?
Yeah, without emotions.
We are emotions.
Yeah, it might be difficult without emotions to experience something, because whatever comes to you and you don't feel emotions, you are like blunt, like okay, whatever. So you're not getting this actually properly. That's how I see it, right? So you need this emotion. You need the excitement, for example.
I suppose you could function. You could.
You can function,
you can
of
just
course.
go on, but you just don't have any binding or bond or connection with what you're doing and the world around you. there and you walk around it and you do, but then you get impulses as well, otherwise you wouldn't be able to move. So the emotions, I suppose, a sort of reflection on that impulse.
Mm.
You know, how you feel about that impulse. You get an impulse to move, you get an impulse to talk, you get an impulse to be interested in something and to run away from something else, to not be interested in something else, to have a dream about something, to want something. Those are all emotions, and you can be aware of them. If you're not aware of them, then you just I don't know what your life would be like. I can only really imagine it had to be. But you try to imagine your life without emotions, and then you realise how big a role they are in the fact that you are experiencing being alive.
That's correct. One remark to this, Hid. I don't know what about you, but what I feel is like when I was a kid, and if I observe kids, so newborn creatures, human beings, they basically full of emotions. It's like the life is exploding of emotions. But they very often quite opposite. So like if you watch the small child, like 3 months kid, right? It's like either laughing when the milk is there, the access to the milk is from the breast is, for example, and then or if there's some gases in the stomach or somewhere, then starts crying, and it's constantly from like very opposite. But when the kid is growing, then the intensity of those is still quite high, but it's like you can sort of manipulate a bit or play a bit with it. But towards the end of your life, I'm not at the end of my path yet, I hope so. But I feel that the level of excitement in my life is going down. I'm not as happy as I used to be, and it has nothing to do with, I don't know, depression or the lifestyle of mine.
It's the wrong emotion to talk about then. Maybe there's a stronger emotion that's growing in you.
No, I feel like I felt that, I did that, I experienced that, so why should I be excited about that? I know what it is. So I already experienced that. So give me something new, then I'll be excited probably again. If you give me now the ride to the Mars in the rocket, then probably I'll be excited. Wow, that was intense, yeah. But now what? Maybe if I jump into Tesla and it accelerates within 10 to seconds,
only
maybe
talking about excitement. Excitement is not the most important.
I know, but you know what I mean. I'm just saying that
emotion. That is the problem. But we do tend to in our civilization, we do tend to put more value on certain emotions over others.
The youth emotions.
The youth emotions, the excitement, the pure happiness. What is happiness? The
being in love.
Not loving, being in love. Being strong, being a winner, feeling confident about yourself. These, the sort of emotions that are more associated with being young, we carry them on and put all the value on them. Where there's so many deeper, more satisfying emotions to explore as you get older. And
so you're trying to tell me that they don't disappear, but they change into something else, and you're interested in something else, basically, right?
Yeah.
The value system changes. You put more value on a certain emotion, and other emotions that you didn't concern yourself with when you were younger. And again, it's an exploration of self to find what they are, and where your contentment or your appreciation of your life and yourself comes in when you get older, because you can't just fill it up with the same emotions you had when you were younger. You have a different.
But the point is, are you on? Do you really need to pursue your emotions constantly, or let's say to push yourself to create some new areas of interest or something like that? because I know. Let me give you just example. I know some old people, like elderly people, like 90, 100 years old, for example, people who sort of give up at some point, saying like, I've done this in my life, I've done this in my life, and this and this and that. I don't feel like I can achieve anything else. I feel like I've done my mission. I'm done here. So whenever
anything about achieving anything?
Yeah, so no emotions are involved anymore, because there's nothing to do anymore.
It's not necessary that there's no emotions, because I think the task of the time that is coming for me now, from 70 years old, is to analyze, to study, to have some sort of quiet study of what is this all for? What were all the emotions in my youth for, in my middle ages, and what is it for? So you have a task, but it's less emotional than to be. What is being in love? What is love? Is an older emotion, but being in love is a different emotion. That is a task of the youth and maybe middle-aged some. But if you're 80 years old and you want to be in love again, then I think you have some sort of you don't know what is life about. You stayed a little bit childish. I think.
But this emotion fades away. But do you believe that there are other emotions which pops up?
Well, I can really.
Do you feel like
I can really be enthusiastic if I slept well, if I'm healthy, be enthusiastic with this new task for me to wonder about what it is all about, this life, emotions. Did I have to do? Maybe was it possible to do it different, or did I just did it in the right way? Well, that's the task, and then talk with people about this. What you found in your life in the earlier times. In fact, someone who was above 64 years old had the right to speak. Why? Because he had done this emotional thing. And then he could look back and say reaching wisdom. Maybe that's the emotion I can really enjoy if I read a good book about what is life about. I can really be feeling a golden shine in me. That's how can you say it's so beautiful? Well, that's, I think, the emotion of the older age.
That's an emotion of appreciation.
Yeah.
The emotion of the deepest satisfaction, because you're learning something more concrete.
Yeah, exactly. The emotion I had when I started to work was, I want to be a good teacher, the best maybe of everybody. That's an emotion of when you're 20 years old. You think, well, the first 20 years of my work was the work on throwing this ideal out, because it's really not working with children if you want to be a good teacher. You have to develop interest in children. And if that's possible without your ideal or your egoistic, I want to be a good teacher, well, so it took 25 years for me to throw that youthly ideal out and be content with contact with children. But now I see, well, that's the base. You have to, maybe it's possible to have it some earlier, or you can teach new teachers, well, throw that ideal out and try to have contact. Try to find the trust of the children, and they are going to learn. But you have to work. It's a lot of work.
It's funny when you were talking before about going to Mars, then you would be excited again. But you turn that excitement to to what you said about enthusiasm. It's almost the same sort of thing, but it has a different sort of energetic content to it. The excitement is more associated with a sort of element of fear. Excitement comes from fear, something that is on the border of something that's dangerous.
Yeah, on the edge.
On the edge.
Mm.
Enthusiasm is more to do with depth into the subject. And you can't say, well, I would be very enthusiastic about going to Mars. You would be. You would also be very excited, you know. And if you know that you wouldn't use the word enthusiasm for going to Mars.
Mm.
You could have enthusiasm for the idea of travel.
Yeah, to different countries, for example.
Whatever, you know. And that's the problem. That's what Geert was saying about the useful things. When you get older, you don't need to take risks to get some satisfaction out of life. The risks become less important, and there's more of an appreciation of depth. And that is what you're exploring, and that your enthusiasm about exploring deeper levels of being. And you can leave all the excitement to the youth. Not that you can't get excited; you can certainly get excited about things, but you're not pursuing the excitement just for because that's the one thing that needs to be fulfilled, because it doesn't need to be fulfilled.
And I read in a book a long time ago the emotions as a tool.
Mm.
These are tools for the one who wrote this said, well, these emotions are in fact the new senses. We have now the physical senses, but these are the senses of the soul.
Yeah.
And you have to.
This is what he said. It's a communication from your higher self, the soul.
But you have to develop them. It's not simply as the eyes were simply there by propagation, I think, by your mother and father. But these senses you have to develop.
Yeah.
And that's the point of human being. You can choose to just stay till your 80th year, stay in love. I want to be in love. And you can choose for, well, I want to analyze what is this all about, and that's different. And then you can use those feelings as a tool. But you have to do. It's not there. You have to develop them. You have to work on them, and that work most people don't like, I think.
Okay, but let's go back to the beginning again. So. My understanding is that all those emotions which we discussed about animals, like being defensive or attacking or staying still, this might be not emotions but reactions to the situations based on the built-in program which tells you, oh, you have to do one of those three things, just based analyzing the situation which you said. So it doesn't necessarily need to be emotion. It might be just the reaction to the particular situation. But what we're talking about, the human beings, these are the real emotions.
No, I mean, you look at it, you can say it's a program, okay, but that would mean that the prey who's being attacked would just turn and run, and further not experience anything. It's just a reaction. Well, no, it experiences fear. It experiences the emotion of fear. That's what makes it run. The program to run when you feel fear or fight when you feel fear, that is the program. But the emotion is experienced to trigger the program, you could say. And you can't say that's just what animals feel, because animals can feel happiness, they can feel loneliness, they can feel love, they can feel excitement, even enthusiasm. You know, they can...
the dog.
Yeah, I know.
Nora.
They can experience quite a lot, also deeper emotions. sadness. My God, it's terrible.
The
to
eyes
see.
of a chimpanzee.
Yeah. Oh,
The
it's a dog. But we don't know the world of animals. We don't know how they. But it's not just fight or flight with them. They
No,
experience
I know,
a lot
I know.
of deeper emotions. But we experience it even more. But we can also analyze them. I mean, not that everybody does. A lot of people react to, are run by their emotions. Why did you do that? Well, because I was feeling it.
But
You're in charge, for God's sake, think about it. You don't have to be cold. You can feel emotions, you can experience emotions, but you don't have to be controlled by them.
Well, in the 60s you had those American psychologists, Maslow and who was the other one? And they had some sort of pyramid. They had the soul. They just investigated, and you had feelings basically like the animal emotions. You have those as a human being too, and you have intense peak emotions, and these were religious experiences. So they had some sort of complete region of emotions. These are all there. Those fight or flight, but this is not the only thing we are ruled by.
No, you could, if you don't delve into it and really try to understand what's going on, you will label it by a very small number of I'm sad. Are you? I mean, are you really sad?
Yeah.
Or, if you look into it, you might find out, I'm not really sad, I'm just a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into disappointment. What's disappointment? Yeah, well, I was expecting too much. And so you're feeling angry now because something let you down. So you're going from sad to disappointing to anger, and you've expanded the understanding of who you are, and also expanded your emotional vocabulary as well, to find out exactly what you're feeling. The more you do that, the more you know yourself and why you react to certain things a certain way. And the deeper your connection is with those messages, because you start to develop then, as you say, those senses.
And that is what children are looking at. If you enter a classroom, they look at you as, well, with feeling, not with analysis, but with feeling. They feel, well, this one is not, it's not possible to get him angry with what I do or not. So that's a way. There is possibility to feel how far is this human being you meet. You can feel it.
Let's stop for now here. There's plenty of other things to talk related to this topic, but perhaps we can carry on later on, or maybe we'll come back at some point to this. But thank you very much for now, Mike and Geert. And thank you very much, all of you. See you next time.
Come on, Thomas, enthusiasm for the camera.